He is the long snapper for the University of Georgia Bulldogs, a former Spain Park Jaguar. That is actually where I first met him. A two-time national champion, one-time SEC champion, All SEC second team in 2022, and preseason All SEC third team in 2023. Also a Patrick Manelli Award watch list member, which is the award for the best long snapper in the country. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, William Mote.
What up, CeeJ? How you doing, man?
How's it going, man? Living the dream. Great to have you on. Thanks so much for taking some time. I know it's late, so I apologize for having you on so late, but I'm glad you took a couple minutes at least to jump on with me tonight, man.
For sure, this is gonna be a great time. I've never done something. Well, I've been on the radio, but nothing like this.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate again. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule, man. I mean, let's jump right into it. I mean, you play for right now the premier program in college football, right? I mean, you guys are two-time defending national champions. You have a job as a long snapper that is so underappreciated, I think, in the game of football. I don't think people understand how hard it is to do what you do. Can you talk about what it's like being a long snapper and just kind of let the people know that maybe don't know a whole lot about what you do? How hard is that job, especially in a place like Georgia, and especially when you're playing SEC competition week in and week out?
Um, you know, uh, it's definitely not easy. The standards perfection every time, obviously, which is it's hard to meet. One, it's not as taxing on the body as other
Yeah,
positions,
sure.
clearly. But what I would say is and this is the best way to relate it, is it's like golf. And in that you have to be consistent on every swing and you only have one shot, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah.
shot could really mess up this whole play or really couldn't. And but I enjoy it so much. It's challenging here, but then again, it also makes me a lot better as a snapper in general. Going to a program like this, where at Georgia we've got such a high standard where it has to be perfect every time, and we even have a standard of I have to block SEC players,
Yeah.
even on punts and in field goals, but on punts it's a lot like we do a similar style to the NFL where the snapper has to be in pass or not pass protection but punt protection um, on certain calls and certain formations. But I've enjoyed it, and it's just a blessing to do my job, honestly, though.
I bet, man. I mean, talking about playing, for a guy like Kirby Smart, right, who's at Alabama for a long time as a defensive coordinator, has so much success there, and then gets the job at Georgia, and seemingly makes a transition, to going from being a defensive coordinator at Alabama to being the head coach at Georgia, and gets you guys to the pinnacle of college football. What seemed like basically instantly. Talk about playing for a guy like that, and what's he like as a coach? How is he super? Obviously, he's demanding. I mean, he's wants you guys to win. But I mean, what's he like as a coach? What's he like as a human being? What's it like to be around him every day?
Um, Coach Smart, he's intense, and like you said, he's demanding,
Sure.
obviously, and the intensity isn't in a manner that he expects us to do something that's unachievable, but something that's obviously achievable. Like as long as we keep working, he's probably in that building the first one up and the first one out. You know what I mean? Like first
Yeah.
one in the building, first one out of the building.
Sure.
He's intense, and he's remarkable. He's a great coach, and that he's remarkable in what he remembers and what he knows and how much film he watches and what he analyzes in a player. He knows what he can get out of each and every one of his players. And that's what he works to get every day. And it's awesome because in practice he's on the mic and it doesn't matter who you are. If you're
Yeah.
doing something that's not to his standard, he's gonna let everybody know that you're not doing it, even if there's plenty of scouts at practice. Like he doesn't care. It's his practice. He demands it, and it makes everybody better for it. He's a great coach.
Absolutely. Well, talk about being at a place like Georgia, right? Where obviously, like I said, you guys have won, multiple national championships in the last few years, and you guys, are sending guys to the NFL left and right. Talk about being a part of such a successful program. And you mentioned, having scouts at practice. What's that like? I mean, obviously, you want to practice well, anyway, but what's it like when you've got NFL scouts watching not just games, but practice? What's that like?
For me, and it takes time for me to like kind of take a step back and realize it, but it's honestly surreal in that, you know, in middle school and in high school, I was sitting there wishing that one day and just dreaming about a day where I'd get to play in a national championship or even have that chance. Growing up and watching SEC football players that you were like, wow, that guy has got it going on. Whether it was Tim Tebow or Johnny Manziel or Cam Newton, those guys. And it's honestly surreal to take a step back and realize that, wow, like I've been able to do that, and it's been such a blessing to me that I'm in that point now in my life where like I can achieve those things here at Georgia, and it's honestly the scouts being at practice. It's
Yeah.
almost like in high school whenever a college coach was at practice. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah.
like just the next step, which is awesome as well. We've got this game on right now, and like I can
Yeah.
list guys that are out there that I'm actually friends with that are playing on the teams. Guys
Right.
that I played with last year. Guys that I've known since middle school, like George, like those
Right.
guys.
Yep.
I mean, and you sit there and you wonder, and especially in the SEC, it's awesome. You really can see how in certain places, college football players that are dominant in their conference, like the SEC, and dominant at schools that they're at, like Georgia or Alabama or even Clemson, Ohio State, schools like
Mhm.
that. And there's like they're doing so well in the NFL. It's awesome to see because you get to see the grind from players like a guy like Broderick Jones that's playing right tackle for the Steelers right now. Like nobody
Mhm.
knew the story before he got there, but
Yeah.
he's a grinder. You know what I mean? Like there's just guys and you love to see it. Kearis Jackson made the 53-man roster for the Tennessee Titans, and I'm pretty sure he was a free agent this past year. It's his rookie season,
Mhm.
and it's awesome to see because it's honestly like the next step. Like high school, you love to see those guys move on and play college football, but right now it's the same thing, which is and fortunately enough, I go to a school like Georgia, like you said, where I mean I still have plenty of teammates that are playing currently and probably going to play for the league next year as well. So I'm blessed for sure.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about George because George is a guy just like you said. You've known him since middle school, right? You were teammates in eighth grade before he went on to play at Hoover High School, and then you guys are teammates again in college, and now you get to watch him in the NFL. Talk about again like how cool is it to see the progression of these guys from guys that you've known from a young age like that to watch them playing on Sundays, or I mean in this case Thursdays. But what's that like to know that you might be the next guy as well, playing in on that level as well?
You know, it's awesome to see those guys achieve what they've worked so hard for because college football, I think a lot of people um I mean, people know that college football players work a lot, but even then they underestimate, I believe, the schedule that a college football player has, especially when you're freshman, sophomore year and you're coming straight from high school where a lot of things that your mom, your siblings or whatever your situation is, they would do for you
Yeah.
but here, you're on your own, you've got to do a lot and you've got to grow up real quick almost, but it's been awesome and hopefully um in the next couple months I'll be able to join some of my teammates. That's something I'd look forward to is like trying to still work hard and I'm in the last little effort of it. I still have another season of eligibility, and but it's tough to stay in college football for 6 years, and
Yeah,
hopefully in the next year I'll get to have a shot, and maybe I'll be blessed with another opportunity to play the game. But I really enjoy seeing my teammates and guys that I've grinded with and workouts and got to know on a personal level. I love to see them have success in the NFL for sure.
for sure, man. It's got to
Yeah.
be cool. I mean, I have two guys that I went to high school with that play in the NFL right now. You know, one on the Packers and Sua Opeta that has been starting on the offensive line all year for the Eagles. And yeah, I mean, it's awesome to be able to see people that you just like you said know on a personal level, you know, achieving a dream. I mean, it's so unlikely that a human being will play in the NFL. And I'm sure being able to see people you know on a personal level like that, and just like you said, people you've grinded with, you know, that you've won national championships with, and you know, sweat and bled with, you know, during the off season workouts and things like that. It's got to be an awesome feeling. But I want to take this question. I'm not sure if you can see this question that just popped up on the screen here from my brother Mason, but let's go ahead now. I want to ask this because I think that was pretty clever. Does it ever get weird when grown men bark at you?
So I've this is not the first time I've been asked this question. The thing is they never bark at me. They always bark at the opposing team slash opposing
Uh,
fans. So
okay,
the barking at each other as a Georgia Bulldog is just non-existent. It's just to go dogs or sick them.
sure,
But as soon as they see opposing colors,
yeah,
oh, it's like it's amazing. Um, and even then, like I don't even see a lot of it because like on
yeah,
game days, I'm obviously like either in the hotel or on the bus, but or
sure.
on the field or on the sideline, and but it's pretty elite that to see, to be quite honest. Like here, right here is Broderick Jones, rookie season, right tackle.
Uh huh.
Yeah, that's big time, man.
For sure, man. Yeah, and I think he's in there because of an injury, but I don't think he's going to be losing that job anytime soon because you know he's definitely playing at a high level. I was talking with this, you know, with my friend that plays for the Packers about, you know, just how special of a player you have to be to jump right from college to the NFL and get this much playing time. Like, you know, like a guy like George did, you know, last year, and like how Broderick Jones is doing now. You know, Will Levis obviously playing quarterback for the Titans, another guy that is just jumping right in there. Um, so I mean, it is special to see, you know, guys jump right in from one level to the next. I wanted to ask you as well, Mote, about, you know, this game coming up on Saturday. So you guys have Missouri, right? And I think a lot of people, you know, I think what the national narrative is about Missouri a lot of times is, you know, why are these guys even in the SEC or, you know, things like that. But I mean, they're 7-1 football team.
Oh
They've
yeah.
they've had a really good season. I mean, they're got, you know, they're ranked 14th, I believe, in the first college football playoff poll, if I saw that right. What have you seen from them on film, and you know, what do you expect to see with them coming into Athens on Saturday?
Um, you know, they are a very tough team in that they're very old. They've got a lot of returning starters. I think they
Hmm.
have 8 on offense and 9 on defense. I might have that flipped. But that's I think that's the most in the SEC, the most returning starters. And you
Yeah.
know, they were a good team last year. I don't know exactly what their record was, but in the SEC, I think they were second behind us in the East.
In the East,
And
yeah.
you know, they have talent on that team. There's guys like Luther Burden and their quarterback that I think his last name's Cook. They're talented. They're a good team and they play really tough. And I've actually gotten to know their head coach on a personal level in high school because he offered me at App State when he was the head coach there.
Oh wow.
So I met him and their special teams coach, Eric Link. Eric's a great coach as well. He's very he schemes up really well on special teams. They've my sophomore year they actually blocked a punt on us, but
Oh dang. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So they're a well coached team, and they're not like the narrative, like you said, that everybody wants to believe about Missouri. Like you said, they're 7-1, and they're a talented team. So we're gonna go into this game knowing that we're gonna have to play good football to win. You can't just roll over in the SEC. I think Coach Smart said it earlier in the season, and everybody in the SEC is talented. This is the most even playing field that it's been in a long time, and yeah, Missouri's playing great ball right now. So we're gonna have to bring a good game to it. So
For sure, man. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to watch a couple, not the whole game on all the time, but I've gotten to watch Missouri play a few times this year. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a very very tough team. They've had wins against ranked opponents this year. And I mean, and I'm sure just like every week, you guys get everybody's best shot every single week. That's the one thing about being the defending national champions is you've got a target on your back every single week. Everybody knows that they've got to bring their A game, and they do. What is that like, I guess, as a team, knowing that you guys cannot have like a let up week where you don't come out with energy, or you guys dig yourselves a hole early, because you're going to get everybody's A game every week. What's that like, and kind of how do you keep focused and know that on in every single week that's what it's got to be? You guys cannot let up whatsoever.
you know, our coaching staff does a great job of keeping our focus on what's important. Honestly, like I said before, Coach Smart, he always keeps our attention, and even in meetings, he'll wake guys up. Nope, yep, back to it. Nope, you're not paying attention. He'll call guys random, just random, say their name random, so they wake up or something like that, or they're locked in. But
Yeah.
it's great in that Coach Smart gives us a confidence that we work on even preseason, where we are working every day with intention and harder than anybody else. And we do that to have that confidence. And at the same time, he tells us, he says, look, guys, they're going to give us their best shot. So when things don't go our way, know that they're playing their best ball and we're
Right.
not. So it's different sort of confidence. A lot of people, and I've had this conversation with other people. Um, when a team has success and they learn how to have success, there's a
Hmm.
difference between being successful and learning how to be successful. In that, it's harder to have a team that's younger. And like I said, this team's older. Like they have a lot of older players and they
Right.
played a lot of football. But it's harder to get guys to realize that when somebody's up 2 scores, you can still come back from this game. You're not out of it. And on plays like field goal and even kickoff, you can feel a sense of laid backness, or oh, we're kind of out of this game. But our coaches train us to basically look at where we are in the game and understand that no matter the situation, we're still in it. So I think it's great to realize that we're going to get everybody's best shot, in that our best ball, we need to have the confidence, can still win us the football game no matter the situation. I think it's
Absolutely.
something like 4 or 5 of our last 8 games, we've been trailing the whole game until like the third or fourth quarter. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great example of how we need to focus on what the final goal is, and if you're not achieving success now, you've it will come.
For sure. You see that block by George right there?
Oh yeah, I just saw it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice little block there.
There's another
Um,
guy playing tight end, Darnell Washington.
yeah. Oh
He,
yeah, freaking beast, man.
yeah, Big O.
Yeah.
He's massive.
I know that I, as a Cowboys fan, man, I was hoping the Cowboys would draft him because they lost their tight end in free agency, and I was like, dude, that guy is an absolute beast. Like he plays with Brock Bowers, so I feel like he probably gets, he didn't get as appreciated as much as he should, just
Oh
because of
yeah.
how good Brock is. I mean, obviously he's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Um, but so is Washington, man. I mean, he's a beast. He's a huge dude. For him to be able to move as well as he does and how big he is, man.
He's the same size right now as he was when he was a freshman when he came in. Touchdown,
Okay.
George. Yes, sir.
Uh,
And you know, we've had guys on the team, talented guys. Um, and when he was coming in as a freshman, and even on recruiting trips, we're like, who is that guy? Like, because we'll have guys from the NFL come and visit, watch practice and stuff.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
who is that dude? And they're like, oh, that's that freshman guy from Vegas. And we're like,
Man.
freshman? Like, what do you mean he's a freshman? You're telling me he's coming in as a freshman right now? And we'd look around and look at the tight ends and be like, y'all better watch out, son.
Right. For
That's
real,
a
man.
freshman right there. It's crazy.
Heard some celebrating there in the background. Sounds like other people are probably watching the game too and saw George score that touchdown.
A
Something
couple of the
you're
guys.
something you're probably pretty used to seeing, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. George has made some crazy plays for sure in the NFL. He made crazy plays here. And
Ooh, I don't know if they're gonna count this though.
yeah, he stepped out, I think.
He might have. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
touchdown at Georgia, but not in Pittsburgh. I don't think, huh?
Yeah, he's got to drag those
Dang,
toes.
man.
He,
Which he's
he
done before, man. But
oh
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I
he's got
remember that
finesse.
long catch he had against Alabama, and I think it was in the SEC championship. I believe
Hmm.
that
So
that
that
catch was ridiculous.
yeah, that play in the national championship, the long one that you're talking about, he
Yeah, it was in the
he
national.
caught the
Yep.
ball on Kool-Aid McKinstry,
Yes, he
and
did.
Kool-Aid McKinstry's actually from our hometown as well. And Hoover
Oh
played
wow.
them.
Okay.
They played them in high school, and when they did, he made a very similar catch and play on
Wow.
him in high school. And I remember watching both of those plays, and after it happened in the national championship, I looked around and said, it's not the first time I've seen that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I remember the one play from high school of George that I remember that stands out to me is when you guys at Spain Park, you guys were playing them. He had a punt return
Oh
touchdown
yeah.
that I swear he broke 11 tackles. Like
Yeah,
it was the entire punt coverage team that he
there's
made
no doubt.
miss.
Yeah, I think I did not touch him, and that was because I had knee braces on. I'll say to this day that if I had the knee braces off, I was playing O line at the time.
Right?
But I was there to make the play, and he made cut left. I had cut left, but knee braces caught, and you know how that goes. All the O linemen, when your knee
Yep.
braces catch and you're running full speed, it looks like you just got shot by the sniper up in the stands or
It
something. But
sure does.
yeah, he at least 11 people touched him on that
Oh,
play, and
that
he
was
still scored the touchdown.
I couldn't believe what I was watching because like I hadn't seen him since middle school, right? And like
Mhm.
it's not like he wasn't good in 8th grade, but like to see how much better and how incredible of an athlete he was on that return.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean that was crazy. I got another comment here from another brother of mine. Austin says knee braces aren't that bad. Coming from another offensive lineman.
Yeah, they're not that bad, I guess. I couldn't imagine wearing them now. I remember getting here,
Oh
and it
yeah.
was the first practice that I had had without knee braces, and it was like I was free from.
Right.
I was like I could, yeah, let loose or something. It was insane. It was awesome.
I'm sure. Yeah, I remember I mean I hurt my knee real bad like right before high school. And yeah, I mean I freaking hated I only
Mhm.
had to wear it on one leg, but I mean I hated that thing so bad. You just feel so constricted that you can't move exactly how you want to. So I can't even imagine having both of those things on and having to wear that. Cuz was it a rule in high school that you if you played line did you have to wear them?
I'm not sure exactly. I know. I mean, obviously, 7A Alabama.
Yeah,
You probably need them,
you
and
probably should. Yeah, true.
yeah. But I think it was a team rule, and
Oh, okay.
obviously, not every team. I don't think every team could even afford all
Right.
of like
Yeah.
knee braces for five or more people.
These things
But
aren't cheap. That's for sure.
yeah, they're definitely not, especially to get them fitted. But
Sure.
I'm not. It was a team rule because they wouldn't let me not wear them. I remember that.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Well, I will say this about you playing offensive line in high school. If we could have cloned you a couple times, one of my brothers would probably have less brain injuries at this point in his life from some of the hits he took. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I enjoyed O line. It's honestly taught me a lot about blocking in
yeah,
college. To be quite honest, it really has, and it's really helped me a lot.
I bet it has, man. I mean, it's I mean, just like you said, there are definitely times where you have to block more on, whatever type of, if they're trying to come block the punt or, going full coverage. I mean, it's a completely different job as a long snapper, I'm sure. And like you said, I mean, it's SEC athletes that are
Yeah,
coming through trying to block kicks. It's not
yeah.
just,
It's not their
you know,
scout team.
exactly.
It,
So you got
it's
4
it's
and 5
probably one of
stars.
their starting linebackers,
Exactly.
which is not exactly the most fun thing either.
Exactly. Well, we were talking. My friend and I that plays in the NFL, he played at BYU in college, and he was telling me they played an away game, in Tennessee, and so we kind of started talking a little bit about SEC, you know, environments and things like that. Besides, Sanford Stadium, which is an awesome atmosphere. I've never been, but just watching it on TV, I know it's incredible. What is the toughest place that you've ever had to play, whether it's in the SEC or if it's an out of conference game? What's the toughest place you've ever had to play?
Um, you know, I would say the toughest place, and my first season was COVID, so there was a lot less
Yeah,
people in the stands.
true.
So if I would say Neyland Stadium
Mm-hmm.
for sure, in that it holds so many people.
Yeah.
And another thing is if you play
Ooh.
them late in the season, it's usually kind of cold there, either in the
Yeah.
morning or at night.
Sure.
That and then it is very loud at Neyland, and their stadium's really cool. But I would
Yeah.
say that or Auburn. Auburn's very
Jordan
similar.
Hare. Yep.
Jordan Hare, yeah, their crowd's always great, and
Yeah, it is.
they bring the noise for sure. But honestly, if I was to say the most, not violent, that's not what I'm looking for, but aggressive, the most
Hostile.
aggressive, hostile fan base that I've been around was Alabama in 2020. And
I
it was
bet.
during COVID. And the
Yeah.
only place that looked like it was during COVID was the stadium. But everywhere else, there were no masks.
Right.
When we were rolling in, there were thousands of people on the streets because they couldn't be in the stadium or in buildings, really.
Yeah.
And another thing is there were a million birds. Did you see that? George Pickens just got off the bench and caught one
I
hand
did
in
see.
the air.
I did see that.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So, but there were a million birds in the air as well as we were rolling in, and
Really?
even during COVID, it still sounded pretty loud there. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll have a lot of fun playing them next year
Yeah.
at Tuscaloosa,
Yeah.
but
And Bryant Denny. Yeah.
for sure.
For sure. I mean, I've the only SEC stadiums that I've ever been to are Jordan Hare and Bryant Denny in Alabama and Auburn. So, and I didn't get to go into Auburn. I went to an Iron Bowl and I was tailgating and then watched the game from outside because I didn't have a ticket. But I mean, especially when it's Georgia Auburn, I mean, there are some crazy things that happen in that stadium,
There's no doubt.
especially in big games like, those plays over the years. That one, what was it was
The
Georgia and
Miracle and
Auburn.
Jordan
Yeah,
Hare.
like the miracle. Yeah, that tipped pass touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
So
just
I grew
crazy.
up an Auburn fan
Right. Your dad
because
played at Auburn, right?
my dad did play at Auburn,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he did the same thing. He was a long snapper at Auburn, and
Cool.
I'm very aware of the big games that they played there. But I
Yeah.
also love going there, and I'm 5-0 against Auburn. So,
Hey, there
um,
you go. That's a nice brag right there. The Deep South oldest rivalry, and you're 5-0 against
yeah,
Auburn.
it's no
That,
doubt.
that's a great thing to have on your resume. Be able to brag about that one forever to family and friends and everything, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And a lot of what I do now, like playing the sport, has to do with what my dad did do. Honestly,
Yeah.
my dad, he's helped me through my whole career, and I actually changed my number this past season to his number
Hmm.
because of that. But
That's awesome.
he's definitely helped me a lot through all of this and guided me. So I respect that man more than anything else. So
That's super awesome, man. I got to know your family a little bit. Great people, and that's really cool to hear. Anytime I love asking people, who their role models are, and I love when it's you can hear my mom or my dad or my brother. I always think that that's so cool because family, your family unit, it's so important that that's strong, right? Because that strengthens everything in your life. I think back to one of the coolest answers in any interview I've ever seen is when the Patriots, of course, the Patriots were in the Super Bowl, right? Shocker. And there's a kid there with his dad that's a journalist, and he lets his kid ask the question to Tom Brady, "Who's your hero?" And he got real emotional and said, "My dad." And that's
yeah,
that's one of the coolest answers I've ever seen. So whenever I hear that, it makes me tear up a little bit too, because I know I feel the same way. My dad's my hero and always has been and always will be.
oh yeah,
It's
my
awesome.
dad. Yeah, he definitely is. We did the same thing in college, position wise, and
Yeah.
we can always share stories about um, workouts, and
Hmm.
he always had it harder than me though. I'll never win that battle. But it's great, and he definitely is my role model, my hero for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Oh yeah.
But I had a question for you. So I know that when you went to Georgia, right, you came in as a preferred walk on
hmm
without scholar. Are you on scholarship now?
So I was put on scholarship,
Uh huh.
and then once NIL became a thing,
Yeah.
I like to help the numbers and everything. I'm not on scholarship now, but I'm also making enough money in NIL to pay for my own school. So
Oh, I'm sure you're making more than enough money from NIL at Georgia that you're probably doing just fine, aren't you?
no, I mean, I think that whenever those rules came out, it was great for college football. It's going to change the
Yeah,
game tremendously. But
agreed.
there's a lot of money that's made off of a lot of people that sweat and work really hard. And before NIL was a thing, they really got nothing for it. But
Exactly.
now they can almost they can use their own name, image, and likeness to try and help their family situations,
Yep.
help their situation. It's changed the game of football. So
For sure. I think it's done a lot. I think it's made it more of a level playing field too, as far as, it not just being, college football being super top heavy where it's every year it's, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, like those are the only teams that I feel like ever have a chance to win the national championship. I feel like it's obviously the cream is still rising to the top, clearly, but it's leveled the playing field. And I think another cool thing about it, like you said, guys being able to help their families and help themselves financially. Think of a guy like Michael Penix Jr. that plays quarterback at Washington right now, having an incredible season, obviously. But he had a chance to leave at the end of last year and decided to stay. One, because he wanted to obviously stay with his teammates and make another run at it, but because he was going to make more money at Washington than he would have getting drafted in the mid rounds of the NFL because of NIL.
oh
So
yeah,
I think that's something that's really cool as well for college athletes.
yeah. It's wild right now. I think some rules are going to have to change, such
Sure.
as like a salary cap or something like that.
Yeah,
Because there's obviously schools with more money than other schools,
of course.
and I mean, you've got to be very strategic nowadays in what kind of player. I've had this discussion with coaches and players. I'm like, look, I mean, I love everything with NIL, but I would rather have somebody that's going to come in and grind. You
Yeah.
know, like you don't want to hand everything to somebody that you don't know is going to work hard for not even just the team, but for the sake of the university.
Yeah.
But it's I still think that it's great that they changed that rule though because
Yeah.
it needed some change for sure.
Oh yeah. And I think one cool thing it brought back was we're going to finally get another NCAA football game
Oh yeah,
after 11 years of having to play my PS3 and find a roster that somebody took months creating with current players, you know, having to play NCAA 14 on the PS3. But I mean, that's one
that's
thing that's really cool.
yeah, that's another thing, and I'll live by this, but they definitely need to come out for on NCAA or Madden. They need to make the long snapper a position because
Right.
right
Yeah.
now it's just a tight end. I mean,
Uh-huh.
think about the players you could buy. You
Yeah.
know, the long snappers, they need to make the snap like a gauge that they
Yes.
have on kickoff and field goal.
That
And
would be awesome.
wouldn't it? Come on now.
Yeah.
People need to start like buying the higher rated, the pro bowler, there's rookies, I mean, right now they're just the third string tight end, I believe,
Yeah.
which is just crazy,
Yep.
I've got friends that are snappers in the NFL and it's their overall ratings like 56, and I would debatably
Right.
say that like they should be at least a 60. That guy's a pretty good athlete. There's punters. I
Yeah.
One of my good buddies for the Raiders, he it says his hands are like a 44. I disagree with that. He's a holder. He's
Yeah.
got to catch balls every
Oh,
field
you
goal.
gotta have good hands.
Good
Exactly.
hands. You got to have good hands. So
Right.
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of joking at the same time, but
Yeah, but
I I think that would be awesome at the
yeah,
same time, but it's kind of funny.
that would be cool. I mean, it would certainly if their goal every year is to make the game, more realistic or whatever.
No
I mean,
doubt.
having to get the snap right, it shouldn't just be that the snap is perfect. So I mean, I think that
I
would
mean,
be
the snap
awesome.
is. Have you ever seen a bad snap on Madden?
No, I haven't.
I mean, I haven't either.
Never.
That's all I'm saying. I have seen bad snaps in the NFL though, and it does
Yes,
change games.
it completely does. Let's call EA. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, we need to call EA or something.
Let's do it. Well,
NCAA should be the first game to do that,
boom.
and boom, then we got the
Let's
whole thing on it.
exactly. Well, Mo, let me ask you. Let me ask you. Kind of. You mentioned you have friends in the NFL that are snappers. What I've read and what I've heard, and obviously this isn't from personal experience like you have, is that in order to be a long snapper in the NFL, those guys usually last a long time in the league if they're good at what they do because, like you said, it's not as taxing on your body. That position isn't something that is usually going to take a huge toll physically because you're not normally taking huge impacts on a consistent basis. So a lot of those guys snap in the league for 15, sometimes close to 20 years. So a lot of times what I've heard and what I've read is that in order to break into the league is you got to wait for one of those guys to retire or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. What's it like, I guess, what's your outlook like, getting onto a roster knowing that a lot of those guys are, established and have been with the teams that they're with for a really long time?
So,
Or am I completely off base maybe? I don't
no,
know.
I think you hit it right on the nail head. The best way to put it in my the best way I would put it is that
Sure.
right now a lot of snappers in the NFL are getting old, and the older, I don't know if, I mean, this is, most people might not know this, but the longer you're in the NFL, your base salary goes up, right?
Sure.
And so the cheaper option is to get a rookie if you
Yeah.
can, but the hard thing is to find a rookie that can do the job. And the best way I can put it is that I'm just going to keep working and do the best I can now in hopes that, like, in baseball they've got the minor leagues, right? So right
Mm.
now I'm just trying to treat my college career as the minor leagues, and
Right.
that like I've got to do the best I can now. I've got to keep working. I've got to keep getting better instead of just staying put or getting worse, because there's not a whole lot of staying put when you're either getting better or worse, sort of thing. So
Exactly.
my outlook to it is, I'll probably give it maybe a year, and if I get my shot, then I get my shot and I'll make the most of it. But it's something you kind of can't put down for if you're a specialist, especially. I've
Yeah.
seen guys come out of the Canadian League and go to the NFL. They played in the Canadian League. They didn't want to. They thought they could have gone to the NFL immediately, but
Sure.
they've gone to the Canadian League, and then maybe 1 or 2 years down the road, they've gotten their NFL shot and they made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll probably give it a year, maybe a year and a half, and see where God takes me from there. But right now, I'm kind of trying to understand and get to know agents a little better, and obviously that can help you. A
Sure.
lot of agents will reach out to players and stuff, so trying to understand that whole playing field as well, because that can play a role into it. And you know, I'm really confident in my shot because of where I've worked. Like we said earlier, like the University of Georgia is a great place to try and have a good college career. And if you do have a good college career, it's a good place to set you up for the future in the NFL. But
I'd say so. I'd
yeah,
say so.
so I'm confident, and I just got to keep working. So it's the grind, and if you want to achieve your goals, that's it's. There's no easy way through it. There's only 32 long snappers in the NFL, and there's about 100 other snappers that are trying to get there at the same time you are. So
Exactly. Well, I will say this. I know, selfishly as a Cowboys fan, we had our long snapper that was with the Cowboys forever. He retired, I think it was either last year or the year before. So I don't know who. I honestly couldn't tell you who snaps for us now, but I think he could probably do just as good of a job as he's done. So selfishly, as a Cowboys fan, I'd say I'd love to see you with a star on your helmet.
yeah, the Cowboys were scouting the special teams field the other day.
Really? Hey,
So,
well,
um,
that'd be freaking awesome, man.
yeah, my brother, he actually moved to Texas and just had a kid. My oldest brother,
Cool.
he lived in Germany, and he's in the Air Force. But he
Awesome.
literally last week had his first kid in Texas. So I
Cool.
wouldn't be mad at all about moving to Texas. Could be
Yeah,
closer to them and stuff. So
for sure.
but whatever role is out there for me next year, hopefully I can step in and start working.
Absolutely. No, that'd be awesome, man. I didn't see this question or this comment, I guess, from all three of my brothers chiming in during our conversation tonight. I appreciate you guys. Hayden's girlfriend goes to Tennessee, so he's
Oh,
been
okay.
to Neyland. He's been to Neyland quite a few times already this year, and he says Neyland doesn't compare to any other SEC stadium he's ever been to. He's been both to Bryant Denny and Jordan Hare, so he agrees with you that is probably the loudest and the coolest environment that he's ever been to.
Something I would say though is on the field, I'm just like from the field, you've got to kind of
Yeah.
gauge how loud it is. Obviously, NFL stadiums, they don't hold near as well. Some of them hold,
Most of them don't, though. You're
yeah,
right.
but
Yeah.
they don't hold near as many people as college football stadiums do.
Yep.
And Neyland is actually super steep, and I don't know. Sometimes just the way the stadium's built will affect the way how and how loud
Yeah.
the stadium really is. To be quite honest.
Yeah. I bet the sound travels. I mean, and I know, like, you guys don't ever have to play Florida at the Swamp. I know that that's a place that, because you guys always play, in Jacksonville. But I've heard that the Swamp is kind of the same way, where it's steep, and also the fans are like right on top of you because they're
Mhm.
the stands are so close to the sideline there that makes it really loud too.
Oh yeah.
Um, but
Another a place that I have not gotten to play yet.
mhm,
and I won't get to play probably, is LSU.
You know, Death
They
Valley, yeah.
I've heard Death Valley is crazy loud, and not
Yeah.
just crazy. It's just a crazy fan base at the same place. But
Yeah.
I mean, same way, it's a crazy fan base. But we've gotten to play them a couple times. It's been fun. I remember 2019 in the SEC championship, and
Yeah.
that was a show. That was a crazy game. Like, that was the best. I mean, that was one of the most talented teams I've ever seen in my life.
Bro, that
Most,
that team was ridiculous.
yeah, most impressive quarterback I've ever seen in person play.
Yeah. I mean, dude, he is all that and a bag of chips. I mean, I remember obviously, rooting for Alabama, and I mean, even Bama had just no freaking shot against that team, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Burrow. I mean, think about it. He had both Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson to throw the ball to.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the running back.
Uh,
I mean, holy cow, that team was just so stacked.
they had Devin White on defense. They
Yep.
had Elias Ricks. They had, or did they have Elias Ricks?
I don't
They
know
had
if they did it. They did
Delpit.
have Delpit. Yep.
Um, who else? They had the no, they didn't have him there. Um,
Linebacker that plays for the Cowboys. He was number 14 in college. I can't think of his last name is Cox, I think.
maybe their O
He was
line was really good that year too.
yeah. I would say so. Yeah, that team was so stacked. I would say in my lifetime, that's probably the best college football team I've ever seen as far as NFL talent, like all on one team. I mean, just the offense, right? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, that I'm sure that was crazy playing that team.
I would
Um,
say that they were the best offense
yeah.
for sure.
Uh-huh.
The best defense, I would have to say, has to go to us probably. The
I don't
20,
think you're wrong. I think you're right on
I
that.
think 2020 us is the best defense in my lifetime, at least.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that it's not when I think everybody on that defense is in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
And
I think
I mean that in every regard. Like I seriously think that even some of our twos are in the NFL from that team. So
jeez.
it's you got N'Kobe Dean, Eagles, Jordan Davis, Eagles, Quay Walker, Green Bay. You got Jalen Carter, Eagles. You got Trayvon Walker at the Jaguars. DK, Darion Kendricks at the Rams. You got Keely Ringo at the Eagles. You got Lewis
Eagle
Cine for the
pretty much the whole
Vikings.
Eagles defense is just Georgia players.
Yeah.
So
You got Lewis Cine with the Vikings. You got Monty Rice with the Titans. I mean, it just keeps going on and on. It's
oh yeah.
wild.
So Levis is out here slinging it tonight, man.
Oh
Did you
yeah.
I know that y'all played, I mean, you guys are in the SEC East with them. So you guys played Kentucky last year, right, when he was there?
He's been there the past 2 or 3 years, I want to say. I
Yeah, I
know
know
for
he
the past
started at
two.
Yeah, I know he started at Penn State and then he transferred to
So
Kentucky. I think he started the last 2 years.
we played him last year and the year before.
Yeah.
So he's a great athlete and very talented. I didn't exactly expect him to come this early. You
Me
know,
neither. Me
I
neither.
really didn't.
No.
I didn't know what his transition would look like. But
Right.
like I said, another example of an SEC player that looks like he's not a great player because he's in the SEC, but gets
Right.
to the NFL and can still shine. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the SEC, I truly believe is the best conference in college football right now.
Yes.
I mean, there's definitely that it's
I know
hard. Like
people get mad at that,
they
but I
do.
mean, how can you not think that? If you
I don't. Yeah,
consistently watch SEC football, there's no comparison. And I think it's weird because I feel like this year a lot of the national narrative has been that the SEC is down for
yeah,
some reason, which I mean, I don't see that.
yeah.
Maybe I'm biased obviously because I'm,
I
an
think
SEC
the
football
SEC
fan,
is
but
just even more of an even playing field right now.
I
Like,
do too. I think that's what it is I just don't think it's so. I mean, there obviously are still the top teams, but I don't think it's as top heavy as it has been in the past. I think, like we were talking about NIL, I mean, that really has leveled the playing field. I think we've seen it in the Pac-12 is the same way too, right? The Pac-12 is just as good as it has been in, ever that I can remember, and same with the SEC.
yeah, and I think another thing that people also are forgetting about is the transfer portal rules.
Yes, that too.
And so the transfer portal, you can plug and play now. It's like the NFL. It's more like the NFL in that you can use NIL to influence what your players are going to look like, what your roster is going to look like. And then another thing is you're not just trying to recruit high school kids. You've got, and people don't realize, because there's hundreds, probably, I would almost say probably thousands to tens of thousands of college players that come from D2, D1, smaller D1 schools, bigger D1 schools, Power 5, like I said. They enter themselves into the portal. There's a list of people that they can just go in there, and they can probably just make an Excel spreadsheet that separates people that are 6'5" and under, 6'6" and up.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not that hard. Football is statistics at some point as well, just like baseball is. So
Sure.
like you need big men to move the ball. You know what I mean? People with
Yeah.
big men on their team win games. People with fast men on their team win games. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely. You are right. Just want to, with those that are, I did see that we just had a few people join the live. We are here with Georgia Bulldog long snapper William Mote. We are following this Tennessee Pittsburgh game. Tennessee is leading 16-13 here in the fourth quarter of
on
this
top,
game. Um, and it's going to be fourth down. It looks like the Titans are going to have to punt here. So, um,
Ryan Stonehouse, he's a great punter.
there you go. I was about to ask you what you knew about the Titans special teams. There you go.
Ryan Stonehouse went to Colorado State. He's a great punter. I've met him. I met him once at a camp. I actually snapped
Nice.
from him before.
Cool.
He is, and he crushes the football.
Yeah.
He sends them far and high.
Holy,
And
I mean, look at this. He's got 2 punts tonight, and he's averaging 60 yards a punt.
yeah,
And he's in Pittsburgh, which is at sea level, so it's not like he's got altitude to help him kick it farther.
yeah. So yeah, he's a great punter. I think he
That's
actually
an upgrade.
averaged the highest last year, highest hang time and distance last year. But he's a great phenomenal punter.
I don't think people realize how big of a weapon it is to have a good punter like that.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, like football is such a field position game, especially when you get low scoring games like this, where the offenses maybe aren't being as explosive as possible. When you can pin somebody back inside their own 10-yard line every time like that, I mean, it's a huge weapon to have, right?
Oh yeah. It definitely is. Coach Smart, we go over this all the time when it's special teams. But Coach Smart, another thing is going back to how great of a coach he is. He's
Yeah,
very statistical and looks at analytics, statistics. He tries to just make it easy for us to understand. Like pinning somebody inside the 10 is worth statistically about 3 points. So every
wow,
time that you do that, you're gaining the advantage of 3 points over the other team, because when you pin them deep, the statistic or the percentage of them scoring a touchdown, when you pin them inside the 10, I want to say is like 17% or something like that. It's less than 20%.
jeez,
But as soon as it hits the 20-yard line or the 25-yard line, it goes up to like 45 or 40. So
wow,
because every team obviously on kickoff, they start the drive on the 25-yard line. And
exactly.
that's what they scheme up for. They scheme up for going for 75 yards, not 90 yards. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
it is.
So
Completely changes how you got to call a game. I mean, you don't want to put your quarterback, especially in a game like this, right? You got a young quarterback like Will Levis, and even Kenny Pickett is only in his second season. You don't want to put a young quarterback, in his own end zone, throwing a pass from his own end zone, forcing a pass and giving him great field position on an interception or getting sacked in the end zone for a safety. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, dude,
Exactly.
Kirby's such a football genius. And I mean, we've seen Nick Saban dominate for so many years. And to see a guy like Kirby be right on his coattail like that quickly after he becomes a head coach is it's so impressive.
Yeah.
So I
He
can't even imagine playing for him and being around him every day like you are.
yeah, he's a very impressive coach. He's great to be around and learn the game from for sure.
Yeah.
He's very demanding, but my football IQ being
Yeah.
at Georgia has skyrocketed. And that's not to say that I could probably run an offense or run a defense. That's to say that I understand like the techniques people are trying to do,
Yep.
the statistics and analytics behind a game, and honestly, like, I mean, just like you've got to have your coaching staff around you to complete a whole team. You know what
Yeah.
I
Of
mean? So
course.
he's a huge puzzle piece to everything we do. Obviously, that's why he's the head coach. But um, it's been great to learn from him.
I'm sure. So question, when you were getting recruited, right? Was Georgia, was it like, did they immediately stand out to you when you were getting recorded or were recruited, or were there other schools that you were like really strongly considering when it came down to what your final decision was?
So, out of high school, my first scholarship offer was Samford in Birmingham, right? And
Uh-huh.
usually long snappers don't ever get scholarships, especially not full scholarships.
Sure.
So, once that happened, I started getting, I got mail from all over the place and places that
Yeah.
me and my dad were just like, hey, we're just not going to go there.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, I got places like Purdue, like,
Yeah.
I had USC from Southern Cal,
Yeah.
South Carolina, pretty much everywhere in the SEC had recruited me, but I had to decide before, because the way it works as a long snapper, you've got to travel to those places and basically prove that you're good enough.
Sure.
And me and my dad sat down and we were basically like, look, we can't go everywhere in the
Yeah.
SEC, and we can't go to California. Like, I
Right.
don't even want to live in California, so why would I go to California?
Don't blame you.
But like, yeah, exactly. Like, why would I? Yeah. Anyways, but the way it looked, like after I got my first scholarship offer, and I actually saw one of my coaches from Samford last week, or one of the coaches I knew at Samford, Russ Calloway.
Mhm.
His dad was my dad's coach in college, but he's a
Oh,
coach at
wow.
yeah, he's a coach at Florida now. He's the tight ends coach. But
Cool.
after that, that happened the junior or my summer before or after junior year, so before my senior year. After that, I had always been recruited by Auburn because my dad went there and he
Sure.
knew, like, he had a bunch of coaches that were his old teammates that were coaches there while Gus Malzahn was. But so a key factor was the special teams coach that was at Georgia whenever I started getting really heavily recruited my junior and senior year was at Auburn whenever I was younger. So he
Oh,
knew about
okay.
me, and he actually traveled from Auburn to Georgia, then to Mississippi State, and then to Georgia. And Auburn, Georgia, and Mississippi State were the three schools that recruited me the hardest.
There you go.
So late into the whole recruiting process, I got a full scholarship to App State.
Mhm.
So I had considered every SEC school, and there were a lot of SEC schools that tried to get on like my list like last minute. But
Mhm.
I kind of was like, look, these are the schools that have been recruiting me since I was sophomore, freshman, and like I kind of trust that they want what's best for me, kind of thing. So
Sure.
I took my official. After I took my official to App State, the week after I took an official to Georgia, and then I decided to commit there the week after. So I knew that
Must have been a
Georgia.
pretty good visit, huh?
Yeah, it was a good. It was. I mean, I enjoyed it. I got to
Yeah.
meet a bunch of the guys that would be in my class, and honestly, I saw they were a bunch of dogs and they were going to work hard,
Yeah, for sure.
obviously, and that's exactly what they were. But I enjoyed it a lot. And then I redshirted my freshman year.
Hmm.
Really tried to play my freshman year, but that's how the recruiting process kind of worked for me.
Yeah.
Like specialist, it's a little different, but I enjoyed it a lot.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like having to make that choice because I mean like you look at all the letters. I mean, obviously, like you said, you don't want to live in California, but like USC is such an incredible football
Oh
brand that I'm sure just even getting that letter has got to just feel so cool. I know Mason kind of went through that process a little bit where he was getting letters and stuff like that, not from any SEC schools and stuff, but it's still cool to know that you're I'm sure it's cool to know that you're wanted,
oh
by
yeah.
all these different schools. It's got to
It
be
was
an awesome feeling.
it was in high school, and you know this, but we weren't the most talented high school in our region.
Sure.
But that's for sure. But we uh we were at practice, and our coaches would bring us our mail.
Yeah.
Then what I really realized was whenever schools were really interested in you, they wouldn't send it to the school, they would send it to your address, like your home.
Yeah.
So I'd start getting mail from like I said,
Touchdown.
USC. Yeah, touchdown, right? Did he step out?
Nice. I don't know. I don't know.
I think
Maybe
he did.
he might have.
I
Oh
don't know.
yeah.
That's close.
I can't tell either.
It was on. It looked like it was at the one. I
Yeah.
couldn't see if there was green in between. You know what I mean? Green in between his shoe
Yeah.
and
Oh no.
that.
I think his heel's out. Yeah. I think he's gonna be down at like just inside the
Yeah,
one,
he is down. I think they called him down.
and Najee can punch it in on the next play.
Oh no, he didn't. But
Dang.
I started getting mail at school for like I said from like USC and places like that. And this was like the written letter from their special teams coach sort of thing, like, hey, we'd love you to come to
Cool.
a camp. And I was like, God, California, like it's expensive just to go out there, and that's like not a guarantee at all. Like, so
Exactly.
me and my dad just traveled to the schools. We even got to a point where we flipped a coin on whether we were gonna, because coaches, we did. We were in at Tennessee. I had just gone to the camp at Tennessee
Uh huh.
and snapped to Jeremy Pruitt, not in front of him, but to
Oh
him.
wow. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it was kind of funny. He was like, all right, I'm going to get y'all to snap these to me. And I was like, what? It's like, I'm going to stand back here and get these. And I
That's
was
a
like,
that's a
all right.
way. Okay.
So, but we were at Tennessee, and we got to the point where we flipped a coin because a coach had called me
Huh.
and been like, hey, this is so and so from Purdue. We want you to come up, and we're really considering he said, I'll be honest with you, we've got 2 scholarships to give away. We're trying to get a punter, kicker, and snapper. And I was like, well, the snapper's going to get the last of that joint. I was like,
Right.
so we decided to flip the coin, and we actually decided to go to a Mercer camp and then to a Georgia camp the day after instead of going up to Purdue. But
Nice.
that worked out fine, obviously. So I have no
Yeah.
regrets with the decision I made. There were times in my career, like during my freshman year, where took a step back and kind of was like, what was I thinking? Like, I couldn't see the silver lining at all because I was young, and
Sure.
like I hadn't had to work that way before. But
Yeah.
I don't regret any decision I made, so I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, I bet those two things you can put on your fingers are probably pretty nice to be able to look back and see you were a part of.
Oh yeah, it's I mean, it's been historical. This year could be historical too in college
Yeah.
football.
100%, man. I'm telling you, it's obviously there's a huge game going on in Tuscaloosa this weekend that could determine, if you guys obviously continue down the path you're on now, who you guys could see in Atlanta. I think that's
Mm.
probably everybody's expectation at this point, And I know that obviously that's one of your goals as a team, I'm sure, is to get to Atlanta and play for the SEC championship. And, it seems that every time the SEC championship is played, it's always for a spot in the college football playoff, right? I
Oh
mean, it's
yeah,
every season.
there's no doubt. If you win the SEC championship, you're going. There's no
Yeah.
way you're. I mean, unless the game changes, flips, and I mean, I don't see how in the next. I guarantee you the next 10. I mean, next year the game's changing. You know,
Right.
like
The 12,
12
12
playoff,
teams.
12 team.
Uh-huh.
I'm. That's another reason why I'm kind of glad I'm getting out of it because one thing people don't realize is that's going to extend the season for about
Yeah,
another
it
2 to
is.
3 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
And fans might love it, but football players are gonna
It's true.
it's a grind to play 15 games. And in the NFL, you're playing what, 16, 18? What is it, 18?
17 in the regular season, and then
17 in the
I
regular
think it's
season?
3 preseason now. I think they decreased it to 3 instead of 4. And then
Yeah.
obviously if you make the playoffs, even
Yeah.
more. So,
So, I mean, that's really a grind. College football, 15 games is a grind. 12
yeah,
is, I mean, 12 is enough, really, but
right.
15, and then people don't really understand that that's going to extend their season, not just lengthwise, but like games as well. So, I mean,
Exactly.
and with more games comes more injuries, and
Yep.
it's gonna change the game. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
It will be. I know as a fan, like it's going to be exciting, especially as as a University of Utah fan, where it's like, where there's been a couple times in the last couple years where Utah's been like right there.
Oh
They've
yeah,
won the Pac-12 2 years in a row, but they've had one stupid loss in the regular season that ruined their whole chance to get into the playoffs. So that'll be cool from that standpoint, to be able to see other teams that in the past had no shot of getting in, being able to do that, but. Um, I I completely agree from a player's perspective how it's gonna be a challenge for sure.
it will.
All right, man. Well, I've took a lot of your time, so I'll let you go. But I appreciate you so much for taking some time to come on, and I hope we can do this again going forward. I'd love to be able to try and make it out to Georgia to see a game. I know
Oh
that
yeah,
I'm pretty sure Mason went out to Georgia to see a game there, and he said it was an incredible atmosphere. So I'd love to get a piece of that at some point too, and go and see that. So I will definitely try my best to get out there by the time you are gone from Athens. That's for
for
sure.
sure. Sounds great, man.
All right, man. Well, hey,
All
have
right,
such a good night. God bless, and thank you so much for coming on. For real, man.
for sure. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
All
Good night,
right,
man.
bye
Have a
bye.
good one.
You too.